One of the major concepts we're looking at with our cardiovascular system is how blood is going to get to all the different parts of the body. Now, as animals, our blood is going to be what we refer to as a closed system because our blood vessels are going to contain all of the blood itself. It's not just going to pool in random cavities within your body. So when we're talking about the blood flow, we're talking about the flow through the heart, flow through the different blood vessels as it goes through our system. When we talk about blood flow, though, blood flow is going to be determined by both pressure and resistance that we have within our cardiovascular system. The pressure is going to be generated by the heart itself because that pump is going to force blood outward, and that force of that blood outward is creating that pressure, that mechanical force that we have on the system itself. We are also, though, going to have resistance to that pressure. The resistance of that blood flow is due to the fact that there is a physical structure there. So the walls of the blood vessel are going to provide resistance to the blood flow through your body. What we're going to see is that when we talk about pressure generated by the heart, that is going to be directly proportional to the flow that we are going to have. So the higher the pressure, the higher the flow. When we talk about resistance, resistance is going to be inversely proportional to the flow. So the higher resistance you have, the lower the blood flow is going to be. So we're looking specifically here at this peripheral resistance. This is going to be looking at the resistance of the entire cardiovascular system, and there are a number of different things that are going to affect our peripheral resistance, and we can see 3 of them that are listed here. So one of which is that vascular resistance that we talked about. That is the walls of the blood vessel itself providing resistance against the pressure from the blood flow. Now, different things are going to affect that vascular resistance, as we can see the diameter of the blood vessel as well as the length of the blood vessel. When we're talking about the diameter of the blood vessel, this is how big of an opening that you're going to have. So the bigger the opening, the lower the amount of resistance that you're going to be creating. So that's going to have an inverse relationship with it because you have more space for the blood to flow through, so you're going to have less resistance that's going to be there. In terms of length, if we actually measure the length of the blood vessel, what we find that the length of the blood vessel is going to be directly proportional to the amount of resistance that you're going to have. Now, the pressure gradient you're going to get, you're going to have a difference in pressure from one end all the way to the next end of that blood vessel. And that resistance to the flow, again, is going to be inversely proportional, whereas the diameter is going to be directly proportional. Another factor that's going to affect the resistance is going to be the viscosity of our blood. Blood viscosity is about 10 times that of water, so it's going to be that thicker interaction that you have because there are actual things suspended within it. So you have cells that are going to be suspended in it, you have proteins that are going to be suspended in it. That's why it's going to be more viscous. The more viscous that you're going to have, it's going to cause more resistance. So high viscosity equals higher resistance that's going to be provided. The third aspect is going to be turbulence. If you think of turbulence like you're going and flying through the air in an airplane, turbulence is when you have all that shaking that's going to happen within the plane that's very disturbing. But turbulence just means you have a disruption in flow. With this, what we're talking about is going to be the blood flow that's going through. Air is also a fluid, though, so when the air is going to be disrupted and you're going to get all these weird disturbances, that's when you're going to have turbulence on a plane and it's going to cause that shaking. The same thing is happening here, but now we're talking about a liquid medium, which is of course going to be our blood. If there is something on the wall itself that is protruding outward, you can see as the blood is flowing through, it's going to cause all these weird disturbances within the flow itself. The blood flow is going to be disrupted, and because of that disruption, it's going to cause more resistance than you would have on a very even flow with it. So that is going to have a direct relationship with the resistance. More turbulence equals more resistance. This type of resistance you're generally going to find in your larger blood vessels as well as within your heart chambers. Those are going to be where you can have all these little plaque deposits that will happen. And of course, with plaque deposits, you're also going to be decreasing the diameter as well, which will also affect your resistance. This diagram, we're going to look specifically at blood pressure first. So when I talk about blood pressure is going to be the measurement of that force you have against the walls of your blood vessel. We usually will measure that in millimeters of mercury. And you will generally get two different numbers when we're talking about blood pressure. You will have the top number, which is referred to as systolic, and then you'll have the bottom number that we refer to as diastolic. This diastolic pressure is going to be when your heart is relaxed. It's not actively pumping, but the blood is still flowing through based on the residual pressure to begin with. The systolic pressure is going to be the highest because that's when your heart is going to contract and it's going to have the greatest amount of pressure at that time. Notice we can take blood pressure in all these different types of blood vessels, but as you can see, the closer you are to the heart, the higher your blood pressure is going to be. We can see our elastic arteries, muscular arteries, arterioles, capillaries, venules, veins, and vena cava are your largest veins. As you can see, that's going to be basically the flow that we talked about, that the blood's going to be going through from the heart and then coming back to it. Average blood pressure in an adult, we usually say is going to be 120 over 80. So 120 would be that systolic number when your heart is going to be pumping, and then the 80 would be the diastolic, which is going to be when your heart is relaxed, but the blood is still going to be flowing through. When people talk about blood pressure, they're generally referring to what we actually call arterial pressure. That arterial pressure is where you're going to be finding large arteries that you can easily access that are going to give you that measurement that you can get with a sphygmomanometer. You also have capillary pressures though. So the capillary hydrostatic pressure, notice you have it right in here in this purple area. It is going to drop significantly. There's a steep drop off from the arteries and all the way down into the capillaries. But then notice we keep on going downward and our venous pressure is going to be very, very low until we get to almost zero to get back to the heart. Remember, we talked about how even though there's no blood pressure from the force of the heart, we have other mechanisms that are going to allow us to return the blood back to the heart, like the skeletal muscles that are going to be contracting, as well as having the respiratory pump for when you're breathing and changing the pressure in your chest and within your lungs. That will help us to move blood forward, and it's always going to move forward in the veins because we do have those capillaries. Blood is generally going to be pushing forward too when we're talking about the arteries because the force of the blood from that blood pressure from the heart is going to force the blood forward. Now the rest of these graphs are just going to have a tremendous amount of information that's really nice to look at. So when we're looking at part A here, part A is vessel luminal diameter. Remember, the lumen is the open space that the blood is going to be flowing through. We're looking at the diameter of the blood vessel itself as we go through. As we can see, the arteries are going to have a very large diameter, up to 2.5 centimeters or so, and then that's going to drop steeply as you start going through muscular, then arterioles, and then capillaries are super, super tiny. In fact, they're so small that red blood cells will generally line up kind of single file in order to fit through them. And then you can see as we go through venules, veins, and then the vena cava are going to be your largest blood vessels, and those are going to be veins that are taking the blood back too. But if we look at the cross-sectional area of the lumen, this is looking at across the board and taking all the capillaries, all the arteries, all the veins, and we're counting up the actual cross-sectional area that they're covering. Notice that our capillaries have the highest cross-sectional area. This is really important for our body because this is where our exchange is going to happen. So we're going to actually have much more area that is going to allow us to exchange those different substances within the blood because the capillaries are going to have such a great number compared to our arteries and our veins. Now this, when we looked at luminal diameter, that was looking at a single artery, seeing how big the open space is, a single capillary. In this case, what we're doing is we're taking all the capillaries that we have. We can see here that because we have so many capillaries, that's the reason that our cross-sectional area is going to be so large. You got to think about every tissue, every organ in your body, they're all going to need capillaries so that you can get the oxygen and the nutrients to them, which in turn you'll also have to pick up the waste products from them. So you do need to have a lot of capillaries compared to all the other types of blood vessels. Notice our velocity of blood. The velocity of blood is also going to be changing as it flows through our cardiovascular system. Of course, from our beginning where the heart's going to be pumping out, it's going to be a fairly high speed for that velocity of our blood flow. And again, steep drop off that you can see going down into arterioles and capillaries. Notice the venule will have very low velocity for blood flow, but then we do have an incline to get the blood flow back to the heart. And remember, those are going to be those different things that we do for venous pressure, which is going to be the skeletal muscles and that respiratory pump.